It's the first time I put the jersey on. First time I got to go on the ice with the guys, and it's been a little bit different in that sense where, you know, I've been with the group, they had a day off, and I couldn't practice with them. We traveled, so it was good to spend some time with the guys on the plane, but, you know, that was the first time I got to go on the ice, so still felt weird and odd kind of being out there. Different dynamic on the ice, but it was great to get out there with them and start that process. Like, yeah, I would have, you know, loved, and it would have been incredible to have that fairy tale ending, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for the management and the ownership and everybody involved in this organization, and that's why, you know, you want to come here, because they just want to win, and they'll do what it takes, and they're okay to make tough decisions if that's what it means, and that's their job. So it's not a personal thing. I never let it get personal. It's obviously more personal for me than it is for anybody, I think, making the decisions, but it's still personal for them too, where we all have relationships, and I'm sure it hurts to have to make that decision, but it's not going to change the way that you know, the relationships I have with them away from the business side of it.
Hot topics, Emily Kaplan, when we might see Brad suit up and play for the Panthers, Emily?
Week to week is what we're being told. That's what they're still saying after he got seen by the Florida Panthers doctors. But let's just rewind of how we got here. Like, this hasn't been an easy process for everyone. And in the end, I do believe the Bruins had a 3-year times $6.3 million deal on the table for Brad Marchand. There was still a gulf of where he felt his value was. I was told that he did ask to speak with management, you know, to find a compromise. And at that point, they felt like they had already bent enough, and they made the decision to trade him. I think they had some advanced conversations with teams out in the West. They learned that Brad Marchand's heart just wasn't in it, and that's why they traded him to his preferred destination. That's the Florida Panthers. So you see him there wearing the Florida Panthers colors. You see him there at practice. He was able to join the team in Boston, and I don't see a non-contact jersey on him, so you think that's positive. But what I was told is that even after seeing the doctors, they know that it's probably a little bit away. He's not with the team right now in Florida. He's getting some, or Toronto rather, he's getting some life stuff in order, but he's expected to join the team soon, start practicing with them, getting acclimated. And again, the time he got traded, the Bruins said it was about 3 to 4 weeks away, so we'll see how close to that timeline it is.
You know, Emily, we get to talk to him a lot, right? We see the Bruins a lot, and there's a self-belief to Brad that just is in every step of him. It's not easy going to a new team, no matter how old you are. But my view is that he's going to be able to seamlessly join them. Mm-hmm. And you've talked to him forever, and like, there's a confidence to him that I think he's just going to be able to step in and really make an impact, where some older guys still need to take their time. I don't see it with him.
Especially if he plays with Bennett and with Tkachuk. Oh. What a line. Emily, what about Aaron Ekblad? What more do we know out the rest of the season and the first 2 playoff games due to his suspension?
Yeah, so I can't exactly tell you what substance he tested positive for. He said it was something that he was taking for his recovery, but I'm going to let you know a little bit about the process of where we got here, and I think that's going to be very informative. Basically, all NHL players are subject to random, no-notice testing. And at some point, Aaron Ekblad did test positive, and this process takes some time. Then you have to get a B sample to make sure that it wasn't a false positive. And so I do believe the Florida Panthers and Aaron Ekblad knew this would be a possibility for a bit of time here. And by the time that they released that statement that says that he is suspended, it's already been determined whether he is going to appeal or not appeal. So you're not going to see him appeal going forward. And that's why he put out a statement where he did take full responsibility. According to the CBA, he is not getting paid right now. He can't practice with the team or join any team activities until 10 days before his suspension is over. And so it's up to him to train on his own, stay in shape. And yes, he will be available game 3 of the playoffs. And maybe we'll hear a little bit more from him and the team then.
So many of these guys have, almost all of them now have their own personal people that they trust and see. And the process Emily's talking about is negotiated through the NHLPA and the league and the CBA. It is the substances are all listed, and if you stay there, you're good. But when you go to a recuperative measure, it can easily test outside the threshold. And from what I understand, that's basically where Ekblad's at, and this is a big kick in the pants for Florida down the stretch here in the first 2 games. It makes Seth Jones' acquisition a lot more important.
Let's talk about Mikko Rantanen. Obviously, he went to Carolina, then dealt to Dallas. There was some talk about maybe Rantanen, wasn't going to sign. He told Carolina he wasn't going to sign there. It sounds like he's disputing that now. But what's the latest on Rantanen and the fallout from Carolina?
Yeah, so Bucci, it's really hard to know what to believe in this situation because there's definitely a war of words. What I can tell you is I don't think anyone is happy with the way that this played out, maybe except for the Dallas Stars. They're pretty happy they got their guy in Mikko Rantanen, but no one wanted to be this public. I can tell you this is what I've learned to my best of my knowledge of what happened here. Basically, at some point, the Colorado Avalanche gave the Carolina Hurricanes permission to speak to Rantanen's camp, and on that call, Rantanen's camp basically said, we're just focused on an extension with Colorado, but Carolina was doing their due diligence at the time, and they found out, they got some indication that they were a place that Mikko Rantanen might want to sign, and so they felt comfortable doing the trade. When he got there, he said, not yet for an extension. They said, fine. They then gave him their big pitch, and he said, not yet, and they said, fine. And then a week before the deadline, he said, I don't want to sign an extension. These are the 4 teams I would, and so that's when they got to work talking to a bunch of different teams, specifically those 4 he'd want to sign an extension for because they knew that the return would be better. As for the fallout, I do know that Carolina feels steadfast, and yes, they've lost a lot of players over the years, but most of them not because guys didn't want to be there. And I don't think Mikko Rantanen had an issue with the system or the coach or the players. It didn't feel right to him. It didn't feel like home. A lot of the players that Carolina has had to say goodbye to is because of salary cap reasons. They just weren't able to pay them, or maybe fit. They were blocked on the depth chart to other players. So Carolina still feels really confident in their program. They feel great about Logan Stankoven. And we know that Mikko Rantanen feels very happy to be in Dallas.
Yeah, Logan Stankoven's a good player.
Yes.
The 2 first-round picks are really nice. That's not going to help them this year like Mikko Rantanen would or Martin Necas would. So they got to take a step back to get to see what these new assets will bring them, because they might not wait for those first 2 rounders, 2 first rounders. They may move them along quicker than that.
You want a quick hot Bucci take? I'm good for those.
Oh yeah, what do you got?
Next 5 years, starting next year, Stankoven will have more goals than Marty Necas.
Really?
I'm going to tweet that out.
I'll take you up
and
that.
like it.
I'll take you on that.
Alex Ovechkin began this season needing 42 goals to pass Wayne Gretzky for most goals all time in the regular season. A large feat, but one that seemed possible for the Great 8. That is, until an injury in December seemed to halt what was looking like a magical season as he approaches 40 years old. This Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m., ESPN2 will air a repurposed and updated version of the Greatness documentary, with brand new Ovechkin interviews and behind-the-scenes content from this season. Here's an excerpt.
Washington side, you'd say way too many power plays. From the side here of Alex Ovechkin going down and getting hit here at center ice and got tripped up.
That's not good.
Oh boy.
It was kind of an odd collision. Didn't really look like much, but he's one of the toughest guys I've ever met. So when he's in pain, you know something's up.
And Ovechkin hobbled as he comes toward the bench. He needs a little help.
I distinctly remember going back into the locker room and knowing that it was a significant injury, and thoughts start going through your head. Is he going to miss the rest of the season? What does this mean? What's next in Alex's career?
The Capital captain has a fractured fibula. He is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks.
You broke the leg. We have to figure out how long it's going to take to recover, what we have to do to fix it, and be patient.
He was pretty devastated of what had happened and trying to come to grips with, I broke my leg, what now? And then, call it 48 hours later, it turns to, how am I going to get back?
You just never doubt the guy and anything that he's capable of.
One of the hallmarks of this guy's career is that he's been remarkably durable. This is a guy that is indestructible.
Amazing that here we are weeks after the game in Utah.
He's just built differently.
He's a machine. There's no doubt in his mind or any of ours that he'd be back.
He's going to start ramping up his skating. Could we see Ovi really soon?
We were laughing before the game. I think everybody was on the same page. Like, no matter what happens, he's going to score a goal tonight.
Ovechkin, welcome back to the lineup. He scores goal number 869.
It was a relief. It's nice to be back on track, and it was nice to feel that moment, feel that energy, and feel that happiness.
He is one of a kind, and they will be writing books about him as an athlete and what he's been able to do. I don't know if you'll ever see anybody like him. I just can't see another hockey player like him ever again coming around.
For him to be as close as he is now, I think it's awesome for the game of hockey.
He's bigger than the game of hockey. He's the best goal scorer to ever do it, and that's pretty incredible.
Doesn't matter what team you root for, you're seeing something this special take place. It's what legends are made out of.
Brody was genuinely happy and thrilled for me that I broke his record. And that's the way I'll feel for Alex, that when he does break the record, hopefully I'm there to be one of the first people to shake his hands.
Only one great left to hunt down, and that's the great one.
When you break Gretzky's record, what would that mean for you, for your family, for the sport?
I think it's going to mean everything. It's great to be in this kind of position. Then what if, you know?
When he was 26 years old, he had 32 goals in 79 games. This year he's got 33 goals in 49 games. What's your take on all of this as we approach the inevitable?
It is an amazing thing to see greatness over longevity. Lots of people have 5 or 7 year chunks where they're the best player or the best at something. For him to be here this close to Gretzky's record, I love in the last 2 years the way he's absorbed how Spencer Carberry wants to use him. Less minutes, not as much overtime play. 4-on-4, he's not generally out there. 2 minutes on the power play. And Carberry had to sell that to him, and Ovi had to buy it.
Yeah.
And here he is, he's right on the cusp of it.
Odds or evens? Odds to win the Stanley Cup. Some good. You know, again, it's about making a profit. Boy, that Avalanche number, the Capitals, maybe an easy type of path. Easier than maybe some of the other top dogs. Looking at a Stars-Avalanche first-round matchup. Ray Ferraro back with us. So here we go. Our Power 5 probability to win the Stanley Cup. For me right now, the top dog is the Avalanche. Just the way they've looked with McKinnon and Makar and how they've added Nelson and Coyle. They have depth now, Ray. And Mackenzie Blackwood, can he carry the load for 2 months? We shall see. How about you? That's my number one. How about your number one?
I'm going to go with the Oh, yeah. Oh, gee.
Bucci's over here and Ray's
Wake
over
up,
there.
John.
Okay, go ahead.
You're the professional.
I know.
Yeah. I'm just going to move the Panthers over here. Stick them up top there. Almost impossible to repeat. We saw Tampa repeat before. I like their defense now that they have Seth Jones. They're going to ask Seth Jones to do less. He'll be better doing less. I just like they're heavy and they're experienced. I got Florida by a bit.
Yeah, it's real close for me as well, and they're my oops.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Also, is that going to happen for the rest of the segment? It might. It might. Okay.
So when you watch
this is a technological nightmare right now.
So what we're saying is your top pick is going to be on the bottom.
Yes.
So you got the Panthers second. I'm going to go with the Avalanche next.
Okay, so our 1-2s are the same. No, it's now no particular order.
Oh, there you go.
Play along at home. Okay, how about your third most likely to win the Stanley Cup?
You know what? I got Dallas.
Okay.
And as good as Dallas is playing now, remember they don't have Miro Heiskanen right now. That changes just about everything. That's 25, 27 minutes a night. Dallas is with Rantanen with a really deep forward group. I think they're a threat.
Well, in the end, it'll just work out fine, but just from the bottom up.
Sure, there you go.
And I like
what you're doing.
I like the Capitals just because, Ray, I think their path could be, I don't want to say easy, right? But if they have a first-round matchup against the second wild card, or even the first wild card, Ottawa, and then they might get a Carolina Devils winner, then they just have to worry about that Toronto, Tampa, Florida cauldron, perhaps with no upsets.
Yeah. So I got the Caps fourth.
Okay.
For me, what's interesting for me is last year they lost that series 4 straight to the Rangers, and they seemed miles away. Right? Like, oh, they're going to have to wait for these young guys. And then Protas has had this big year, and McMichael's gone. And I like Washington. I don't have them in the same group here, but man, this is a good team.
I mean, I know they don't look good right now. But again, it's McDavid, it's Draisaitl. Maybe they get Kane back and Frederick, and then McDavid has another gear. He's been kind of pacing himself. He's played a lot of hockey, a lot on his mind, carrying the team. So I'm still got to give Edmonton a shot.
I'm going to go with the Vezina Trophy winner with my 5th pick, and that's Winnipeg.
Okay.
They're big. They're strong, they're deep, they got an amazing power play. It becomes less of a factor as the playoffs go on, but I've got the Jets as my 5th.
All right, I was going to do Toronto, but you know what? I just think this team is heavy and big and have a good coach, worried about the goaltending. They have a gene, though, about that.
Bruce Cassidy says the goaltending doesn't have to win them anything, it just can't lose them games.
Like that game in Pittsburgh, they come back and tie in the Hannafin goal, and then they lose in overtime.
Oops.
All right.